A gray dusk cloaked the skyline of Ouagadougou like a blanket of uncertainty. The presidential compound, nestled behind steel gates and surrounded by high walls laced with security cameras and armed guards, throbbed with quiet tension. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, president of Burkina Faso, was pacing his private chamber, phone in hand, his military jacket half unbuttoned. Outside, the rhythmic beat of cicadas clashed with the metallic grumble of patrol trucks making their rounds. "Ibrahim," whispered an aide as he entered hastily, "we intercepted a coded transmission from the American base in Niamey. It's urgent." Captain Traoré looked up sharply. "Speak. They've taken your son." The words slammed into him like a bullet. He staggered back, gripping the desk for support, eyes wide with disbelief. "Who? How?" "We believe it was a covert unit, sir. Blackout operation. They moved during the military exchange drills in Niger. All signs point to involvement from the CIA Special Activities Center." The silence that followed was not of confusion. It was of controlled fury. "They dare touch my blood." Ibrahim whispered, his voice like glass cracking beneath pressure. "Sir." The aide continued nervously. "They've released nothing. No ransom, no message. But intelligence sources say it's retaliation for the Russian arms deal last month. They want leverage." Ibrahim slammed his fist on the desk. "Get me Colonel Samek, now, and shut down the American embassy in Ouagadougou. Full lockdown, sir. I said now." His roar echoed against the marble walls. Minutes later, Colonel Yakuba Samek, commander of the elite Red Scorpion Division, entered, his boots striking against the floor like war drums. "They have Malik." Ibrahim said, eyes narrowed. "My son, the Americans have him." Samek blinked, a storm brewing behind his dark eyes. "This is war." "No," Ibrahim said, regaining his composure. "Not yet. But if they want to provoke one, I'll give them a front row seat." He turned to a satellite map on the wall and traced his finger over the region. "I want a silent insertion team in Niamey. I need eyes in the American base. I want confirmation." "Understood." "And Samek, if they hurt him, they won't. He is a Traoré." But even as the words echoed, something felt broken. Across the Atlantic, inside a black site facility in Virginia, a meeting convened in a dim, high-security situation room. A handful of people sat at the oval table, among them CIA Director Alicia Monroe, National Security Advisor Stephen Carter, and General Raymond Pierce. Monroe leaned forward, her voice as sharp as her tailored suit. "We've got the boy. He's being held at Site 72 in Jado, untraceable, undetectable. The father won't act until he's sure, and by then we'll have everything we need." "Are you sure that was wise?" asked Carter, loosening his tie. "Ibrahim Traoré is not some jungle warlord. He's smart, educated, military to the bone. You've now made it personal." "Exactly," Monroe replied coldly. "We needed him vulnerable. This deal with the Wagner Group is unacceptable. If Russia gets a foothold through him, we lose control over West Africa." Pierce added, "This isn't just about him, it's about the chain. Guinea, Mali, Chad. He is the symbol. Break the symbol, you break the movement." Monroe finished. Carter frowned. "And what about the boy?" Monroe's face didn't flinch. "The boy is a message." But as she said that, a technician entered, whispering in her ear. Her face changed. "What do you mean the Burkina Faso embassy has gone dark?" The technician swallowed. "They cut all diplomatic lines," recalled the ambassador. "They've gone full blackout." Carter stood up. "Jesus Christ, you lit the fuse." Back in Ouagadougou, the compound buzzed with activity. War rooms activated. Generals summoned. Traoré now stood before a massive digital wall map, every key base marked, every satellite uplink live. "Tell me what the Russians are offering," he asked his intelligence chief, Mariam Doumbia. "Full support, extraction options, satellite recon, even private contractors. They want us to name the location. No, I will not be Russia's puppet. I'll play their game, but I will not bow to their pieces." Doumbia nodded, impressed. "And the Americans are not ready for what's coming." Just then, a private signal blinked green, an intercepted message, a video. Samek handed him a tablet. Ibrahim stared at the screen. It was grainy, obviously filmed in a hidden chamber. A boy, Malik, his 12-year-old son, blindfolded, chained but unharmed. A timestamp in the corner showed it was recorded only hours ago. A distorted voice played. "Captain Traoré, you have interfered in global balance. Remove your soldiers from Mali. Cancel the Wagner contracts. Submit, or you will raise a son only in memory." Traoré's hands trembled, not with fear, with volcanic rage. "Prepare the jet," he said quietly. "I'm flying to Niamey myself." "Sir, that's reckless." Doumbia objected. He turned to her, eyes blazing. "Let them come. Let them try." Outside, in the dense darkness of the Sahel night, a storm was forming. Not in the sky, but in the blood of a father prepared to burn the world to save his son. The engines of the Falcon 7X jet roared like fury, channeled into turbine blades as Captain Ibrahim Traoré soared through the black skies toward Niamey, capital of Niger. The interior cabin was dim, filled only with the quiet hum of encrypted communications equipment and the presence of Burkina Faso's deadliest operator, Colonel Yakuba Samek. Dressed in desert camouflage with an earpiece linked directly to the intelligence hub in Ouagadougou, Samek resembled more a shadow than a man, a soldier trained to vanish, kill, and command without ever needing to speak. Ibrahim stared out the window at the cloudless expanse, his thoughts spiraling between anger, fear, and vengeance. Every second was a ticking bomb. Malik's face, bruised and blindfolded, replayed endlessly in his mind. A child, his child, used as a pawn in a game played by snakes who called themselves diplomats. "Status?" he asked, voice hollow but sharp. Samek spoke quietly. "Our satellite sweep confirms increased movement in the American drone surveillance corridor over Jado Plateau. We're picking up a ghost frequency, likely a black site. Do we have confirmation on Malik's exact location?" "Not yet, but Russian GRU offered their full-spectrum signal decryption. They think the site is buried in the mountains northeast of Agadez. He's likely there." Ibrahim nodded. "If they're right, we hit them tonight. I want everything ready. Air, ground, shadows. I already have a 6-man insertion unit stationed in Maradi. Just give the word. I will go with them." Ibrahim added. Samek turned slowly. "You're the president. If you fall, so does the revolution." Ibrahim didn't blink. "Then we don't fall." Back in Washington, chaos had begun to bubble behind closed doors. CIA Director Alicia Monroe stormed into the White House briefing room, eyes blazing. "You authorized what?" she shouted at Stephen Carter. "I authorized nothing," Carter snapped back. "Your people moved without full sign-off. We've got a sitting head of state airborne, headed for a black ops facility that doesn't officially exist. If he gets there and something happens to that boy, we have a continental war on our hands." President Ethan Wallace, a man known for silent temper, entered mid-argument. "Enough," he said. "Shut the door." The room froze. Wallace glanced between them. "I want clarity. Monroe, did we take the boy?" "Yes, under my command. He was en route to a school in Niamey. We intercepted and redirected. He's being treated well." Wallace exhaled, pinching his temples. "And now his father, a revolutionary turned head of state, is flying toward our installation. Do you realize what happens if this explodes?" Carter interjected. "Sir, we can spin it." "No," Wallace snapped. "There is no spin, there's only fallout. Should we release the boy?" Monroe asked hesitantly. "Not yet. If we do that now, we lose leverage, but if we let Traoré get close, we might lose the boy." Carter finished grimly. Wallace gave one final order. "Prepare a Delta team in Agadez. We contain this discreetly. Traoré doesn't leave Niger alive." As the Falcon descended over a hidden runway outside Maradi, Ibrahim stepped onto the tarmac with Samek. Their boots touched ground like twin thunderbolts. A convoy of armored Toyota pickups awaited, flanked by his elite Scorpion division. Faces painted black, gear oiled, eyes dead and focused. They moved like ghosts. Samek briefed quickly. "We'll split. 3-man infiltration at the front, diversionary boom at the ridge. You and I go in with Delta Path. What's the resistance? Unknown. Could be a dozen, could be 100. Then we make it 0. Night fell heavier as they moved through the Sahel desert past dunes and rocky outcrops that whispered death. At 02:00 hours, a silent drone scan confirmed heat signatures 20, two bodies inside what looked like an abandoned French mining station. But beneath it, a reinforced bunker. "That's it," Samek whispered. They suited up. The scorpions spread out. From above, the desert looked peaceful, but it was a battlefield waiting to bleed. Ibrahim and his team reached the perimeter silently. A wire cutter sliced through the first gate, then motion sensors were jammed. They slid through shadows, hugging corners, breathing like snakes. Inside the compound, two American guards chatted idly. Then two PFFD sounds, tranquilizer darts. The guards slumped. No gunfire, no alarms. Samek signaled, "Go." They descended into the underground levels. The air smelled of metal and ammonia. The hallway glowed faintly red from emergency lights. Then they found him, Malik, curled in a corner cell, eyes half shut. Ibrahim rushed forward, grabbing him. "Papa," Malik whispered groggily, "I'm here, son, I'm here." But then sirens, screaming. The lights turned bright white, doors slammed shut. "We've been made," Samek growled, and from the loudspeakers an American voice crackled. "You are trespassing on sovereign U.S. property. Stand down, hands where we can see them." Ibrahim looked at his son, looked at Samek. Then he whispered, "They will not write our story." Above ground, a Delta Force team moved in. 17 men, trained to kill without asking why. Choppers circled, but before the assault began, a sudden explosion ripped through the east wing of the compound. One of the Scorpion diversion units had detonated a car bomb. Chaos. Samek opened fire. Ibrahim held Malik tightly, running through smoke. Filled corridors as bullets flew. The Scorpions fought like demons unleashed, every bullet a scream for vengeance. Outside, a Russian satellite overhead fed live footage to Ouagadougou. Mariam Doumbia watched, stunned. "They're in." In the chaos, Monroe screamed at the Pentagon, "Call them off, now." But it was too late. Inside the compound, Ibrahim reached the surface, Malik in his arms, covered in ash and blood. He looked up at the choppers and the lights. A U.S. sniper had him in the crosshairs. "Do not fire," came a voice through the comms. "Why not?" asked the sniper. "Because he's holding a child." Then a silence. Monroe stared at the live feed and whispered, "Pull him out." The sniper moved the barrel. In that moment, Ibrahim stared directly into the night vision scope. And then, slowly, he raised a middle finger toward the sky. They escaped into the desert, vanished like ghosts. By dawn, the facility was in flames, the American operation compromised, Monroe disgraced. Carter silenced. President Wallace furious, and in Ouagadougou, Ibrahim stepped from a military helicopter, his son asleep in his arms, as a sea of Burkinabe supporters wept, chanted, and reached toward him. No speeches, no statements, just the image of a father who broke borders to bring his son home. But deep within him and in the hearts of those who watched, something darker was born. The day America touched his blood, they made a martyr. The world didn't know it yet, but Traoré had changed, and what came next would shake the continent. The compound smelled like diesel, sand, and steel. As the presidential convoy rolled into Ouagadougou's central garrison, Ibrahim Traoré emerged from the armored SUV carrying Malik in his arms, eyes steeled, lips clenched in silence. Thousands of citizens filled the roads outside the base, pushing against riot shields and military barricades, crying tears of fury and triumph. They had followed the rumors all night, heard the whispers. The Americans took his son. The captain went after them. The captain brought him back. Mariam Doumbia stood at the entrance, flanked by senior members of the Revolutionary Council. She wore her signature navy blue baobou embroidered with the golden stars of Pan-African unity. Her voice trembled when she finally spoke. "Captain, are you all right?" Ibrahim's eyes, dark and unreadable, didn't look at her. He was drugged. They held him in a steel box like an animal. His voice cracked. "He's just a boy, Mariam. We didn't think they'd go that far." He handed Malik gently into the arms of the waiting medical staff. Then he turned, stepped past her, and walked inside the war room like a man returning from his own funeral. Doors shut behind him. Inside, maps of the Sahel were already spread across the conference table. Red pins showed U.S. outposts. Blue pins showed allied African governments. Yellow pins, Those were his allies, mercenaries, rebels, ghosts. The room was dim and silent until Ibrahim spoke. They tried to erase my son. General Samek nodded grimly, and the world still calls them saviors. Ibrahim took a breath. What do we know? Miriam stepped forward. Global response is split. Washington hasn't officially commented, but French intel suggests they're scrambling to sanitize the operation. All diplomatic channels are quiet, too quiet. They're waiting, Ibrahim said, to see if I break. General Kabor grunted. What now, Captain? Ibrahim's gaze swept the room. We take the fight to them. Miriam's face froze. Are you saying war? No, not war, not yet, Ibrahim said. But they must learn we are not afraid. Burkina Faso will not bow. They want to destabilize us from the inside. Fine, let's play their game. He turned to Samek. Operation Black Echo. Activate every ghost unit. Samek raised a brow. All of them, every last one. Meanwhile, in Washington, the storm had fully arrived. CEA Director Alicia Monroe paced back and forth in the Oval Office. Her face was pale, her hair unkempt, her phone glued to her ear. President Wallace leaned forward, veins showing in his temple. You assured me this would stay covert. We had him in our sights. Monroe snapped. If your NSC hadn't interfered. Don't you dare throw this back at me, Alicia. Your little experiment has given him the image of an African Rambo. Do you see the photos, the video leaks? He rescued his son from an American facility. Now every dissident across West Africa sees him as a symbol. She stiffened. What's your directive then? Wallace stared coldly. Erase him quietly, permanently. Monroe paused, then dialed another number. An encrypted voice answered, yes, Phase 3, authorization granted. The line went dead. Ouagadougou 2 nights later, it started small, a car bomb outside a hospital, then a sniper bullet meant for General Kabor, then a string of coordinated attacks across the North radio towers, water stations, orphanages. All orchestrated with American precision, but painted as rebel insurrections. Inside the Burkinabe Command Center, chaos flared. They're bleeding us with ghosts. Samek snarled, slamming his fist on the table. Ibrahim, his face taut with fury, looked to Miriam. Mobilize the people. If they want a proxy war, they'll get one, but not with hired guns. He turned to the screen live footage of a village under attack. Call them. Miriam hesitated. You mean, yes, he said. The screen flickered. A shadowy face appeared. The man was pale with deep scars under both eyes. Ah, Mr. President, the voice slithered. To what do I owe this visit? Help me fight a fire. Ibrahim said, of course, but you know the price. I'm already burning. The screen went black. Samek turned. That was the Wagner liaison, wasn't it? Yes, Ibrahim replied. They're coming, and so are the Chinese. Miriam's voice wavered. Are you sure about this, inviting one empire to fight another? He looked away. When the devil knocks, sometimes you answer with demons. In a high-rise penthouse in Istanbul, a man opened a briefcase and reviewed a dossier. Name, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Status, active head of state, threat level. Red authorized. Neutralization discreet. He was the assassin known only as Falcon. Next to the folder was a vial of neurotoxin and a silver bullet with no markings. That night, a storm thundered through Ouagadougou. Rain smashed against windows as Ibrahim stood alone in his son's bedroom. Malik slept peacefully now, unaware that his rescue had lit a fuse across continents. Ibrahim reached for a photo of his wife gone for 3 years, shot by insurgents with U.S.-made rifles. He clenched the frame tightly, then a sound, soft, barely audible, a click. He turned just in time. A masked man in black stood near the window, pistol raised. Captain Traoré, the man whispered, they send regrets. But before he could fire, the door burst open. Samek tackled the man with brutal force, snapping his arm, slamming him to the floor. You think you can kill a ghost? Samek shouted. Blood spread the wall. Malik woke up screaming. Ibrahim lifted him in his arms again, heart racing, chest heaving. His eyes met Samek's. No more warnings. 2 days later, the African Union Summit. Held in Addis Ababa, the summit had been dominated by whispers of Traoré's vengeance, American secrets, and Russian involvement. And now, All eyes turned to the podium as Captain Traoré himself walked in, flanked not by bodyguards, but by his generals, his ministers, and to everyone's shock his son Malik, holding his hand. The hall fell into silence. He stepped up to the microphone. "I stand before you not just as a leader, but as a father," he began. "They kidnapped my son, tried to break my nation, and buried the truth beneath steel and silence. But I came back." Gasps. Then murmurs, then applause. "But this is not just about me, it is about the truth. Africa has been caged long enough. Today we stop being pawns." He raised his hand. Behind him, a screen lit up. Security footage, the American compound, the rescue, the sniper that didn't shoot. The hall erupted in shouts, then silence, and then the twist. He turned and pointed at the screen again. "This is the man who ordered the kidnapping." The photo of CIA Director Monroe appeared, but this, he clicked again. A new image, President Wallace's private memo. Is the man who approved it. A collective gasp. "This is war," Ibrahim said softly, not with bombs, but with truth. He turned and walked away, leaving behind a hall of leaders speechless, shaken, and staring at the man who had just rewritten the rules. The world didn't breathe for 48 hours. After Ibrahim Traoré's speech at the African Union Summit, satellite feeds lit up across continents. Global news channels replayed his footage on loop. The son held captive, the American compound exposed, the memo with President Wallace's authorization. In Washington, there was no damage control, only silence, and then fire. Protests erupted in Dakar, Bamako, Accra, even Paris. In Harlem, a crowd marched with Malik's face on placards, chanting, "Africa will not kneel." In the Situation Room, chaos reigned. President Wallace's face was stone. "We underestimated him." CIA Director Monroe looked like she hadn't slept in days. "He used the narrative against us. We tried to paint him as a warlord. Now he's Mandela with military credentials." And now, Monroe glanced around. "We still have Falcon in play. Is he still alive? Yes, but compromised. Traoré's people captured one of our local assets in Nairobi. They know the plan. Wallace stood, then make him disappear. I don't care how, but it was too late." Across Africa, military leaders began publicly severing ties with U.S. command structures. An explosive memo from the Nigerian Senate accused the Pentagon of covert colonial destabilization. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement was suddenly revised now with an aggressive clause favoring defense alliances with non-traditional partners. China and Russia smelled opportunity like wolves on wind. In Ouagadougou, the capital had turned into a fortress. Wagner units, though unofficial, now patrolled the city in unmarked black vehicles. Chinese drones flew overhead, and Malik, the boy who had unknowingly launched a geopolitical rebellion, now had more bodyguards than his father. Ibrahim stood in the council chamber, staring down a redacted CIA dossier. "He'll never stop," Samek growled. "You exposed their king, now they'll send an army of shadows. They already have," Ibrahim said. "But they don't understand one thing." "What's that?" Ibrahim lifted his eyes, burning with a calm fury. "I didn't declare war on America. They declared war on a father. Now they'll find out what a father is willing to become." Weeks passed. The world watched a continent shift its center of gravity. Joint Chinese, Burkinabe infrastructure deals tripled overnight. Russian hardware flooded the Sahel. American influence crumbled like ancient sandcastles. Morocco, South Africa, even Kenya, countries once neutral, now leaned toward a unified African bloc with Ibrahim as its ideological spearhead. In secret, the Pentagon drew new plans. Phase 4, decapitation. A surgical drone strike. Target, Traoré presidential motorcade and 16 highways 0 hours GMT. The day came, the drone flew. But when it fired, it hit a decoy. Within moments, a chilling broadcast aired on every African and European news network. It showed Captain Traoré standing on a mountaintop, alive. "To those who tried to end me," he said, "your weapons failed, your lies failed, and now your fear is showing." He stepped aside to reveal a drone, an American MQ-9 Reaper, now hacked, grounded, and painted with the Pan-African flag. Next time, he said, we send it back. Inside the CIA CyberOps HQ, screens went black one by one. A virus traced to Ouagadougou spread through their secure infrastructure. Communications with embedded assets in Chad, Niger, and Sudan failed simultaneously. Alicia Monroe stared at her laptop. One word blinked on her screen, remember Malik. She shut it, trembling, and then the twist that broke the world. It began in New York. An anonymous whistleblower, a former NSA contractor, uploaded a 9-minute video to the dark web. It went viral in less than 2 hours. The footage, CIA training sessions detailing how child abductions could be used to psychologically destabilize rogue foreign actors. Buried in the files was Malik's name. His age, his movements tracked, his school, his favorite park. The video ended with one final sentence, recorded by a female voice. This is what democracy looks like when filtered through the barrel of a gun. That night, the UN met in emergency session. Ibrahim, invited personally by a coalition of South American and African delegates, stood in front of the assembly. This is not just about my son, he said. This is about the sons of Gaza, the daughters of Haiti, the orphans of Congo, the voices of the global South, long silenced by suits with nuclear codes and bank pens. One delegate from Italy rose, trying to object, but was drowned by thunderous applause. The resolution was passed. The United Nations officially censured the United States for unauthorized operations against a sovereign head of state. It was historic, but not the end. Back home in Ouagadougou, the wind was soft that evening. Ibrahim sat in the garden with Malik on his lap, reading a book not about politics, not about war, but about the stars. The boy asked softly, "Papa, will they come again?" Ibrahim looked at the sky. "They might. Will you stop them again?" Ibrahim closed the book and kissed his son's head. "Yes." At that moment, Miriam walked in. "Captain, President," he corrected gently, but only to them, to him. He looked at Malik. "I'm just Baba," she smiled. "Baba, then, there's someone here to see you." A shadow appeared behind her. Tall, white, dressed in civilian clothes, hands raised, the former CIA agent who had blown the whistle. He looked frightened but determined. "I want asylum," the man said. "Why? I couldn't look at my daughter after what we did to yours." Ibrahim stood slowly, walked toward the man, and embraced him. The garden fell into silence. 1 week later, Washington. President Wallace resigned in disgrace, replaced by a woman who openly wept during her swearing. Alicia Monroe disappeared, her name wiped from official records. Some said she was in Alaska, others whispered Moscow. But in Africa, a new sun rose, and Captain Ibrahim Traoré, soldier, father, survivor, stood at its center, not as emperor, not as savior, but as proof that even a continent wounded by centuries could still roar when its children were taken. He walked alone to the edge of a cliff at sunset, overlooking the Sahel, lit a match, and burned the last CIA dossier in his hands. The flames danced, and he walked away, not toward war, not toward peace, but toward something no one could name. Because, for the first time in centuries, Africa held the pen.